Okay, as we said, with just 24 days to go, the surprises just keep coming. Joining us now for Campaign 2016 analysis, Loyola law professor Jessica Levinson. Hi, Jessica. First of all, what do you make of Donald Trump requesting this drug test before the next debate? And do you think this is just a tactic, a smokescreen, to take away from the scandal that's dogging him right now?
Well, I mean, I certainly think that he's saying, look over here, don't look over here with all these women accusing me of sexual assault. I think a lot of people feel like when they're observing this election that they're looking through the looking glass. And so there were these rumors which were unsubstantiated that it was Trump who was having drug issues because he kept sniffing throughout the debates. And then I think people were really surprised when he decided to bring up drug testing and to say, well, this is something that I want to engage in. And so I'm not really sure what his end game is, except to say, well, let's now talk about this instead of talking about the women who keep coming forward every day to accuse me of misconduct. And maybe he hopes that there's something that's going to come out that, Hillary takes blood pressure medication and this is going to feed into his narrative that she doesn't have stamina. But I'm not really sure what his end game here is, again, except just to say, well, let's look at, through door number 3 instead of door number 2.
So have we seen a significant impact on his voters, particularly his base and the voting public, people who may not be decided when he does things like this?
No, not at all. I mean, so the one thing that we've seen that's been consistent throughout this election, and virtually nothing has been consistent throughout this election, except that the Trump supporters, who are diehard supporters, are really unmovable, and they will not change their mind kind of regardless of what happens, because Donald Trump has a response for virtually everything. He says the media is against me, or the election is going to be rigged, or there's a worldwide conspiracy against me. So his supporters believe this. And, as to the undecided, I think this, and I know I'm not alone, the choices this time are so different that I'm really curious as to who is truly undecided. I think right now in the campaign, it's about trying to get the base out.
Right. It's extremely polarizing this time around. Well, the WikiLeaks dumps right now that seem to be plaguing Hillary Clinton, apparently they're going to continue up until the election. You would think that they would be a lot more damaging than they have been, but because of Trump's controversies, and as you said, he kind of like sucks the air out of the situation. Is that the reason why we're not seeing any more backlash against Hillary Clinton? Because there's some pretty damaging things coming out of the Goldman Sachs transcripts.
Well, I think it's two things. I mean, I think, frankly, it's damaging but not shocking. There's nothing that happened in these transcripts which weren't actually speeches so much as long Q&As at Goldman Sachs and other Wall Street firms that I think is shocking to people. I mean, I think what it boils down to is that in a room with investment bankers, Hillary sounds slightly less supportive of massive Wall Street reform than she does when she's on the campaign trail and she's trying to appeal to voters. So I think that's, frankly, pretty predictable to anyone who's watching. Would it be more damaging? It would certainly be getting a lot more play if she weren't running against someone who has been absolutely masterful in getting an enormous amount of free media. And what we're seeing in the end of the campaign is that she's kind of just letting Donald Trump talk, and she's actually not going out there as much as I think she otherwise would. And I think the hope is that he will just implode as we get, 3.5 weeks
right
closer.
Maybe in her mind the situation will take care of itself. Okay, so we're coming up to the last debate here on Wednesday in Las Vegas. What do you think voters or the American public expect from this debate? We saw what happened in the first one. We saw what happened in the second one. What is there left to expect from this third debate?
Yeah, I mean, so this is like so trite, but expect the unexpected when it comes to the election. I mean, I think what we're going to see is people are looking to see whether Donald Trump does something just utterly shocking, that he all of a sudden just loses his cool and kind of explodes on the stage. And people are continue to look to Hillary Clinton to see, is she likable? Is she likable enough? How will she be able to connect? How will she respond to the questions? Will she act like a fact checker, or will she act like someone who wants to stay on her campaign narrative? So I think that people are frankly watching these debates in a different way than they used to. They used to watch debates to see what are the policy positions.
Right.
Now they're watching it like it's a spectator sport. It's like a wrestling match. It's entertainment, too.
Entertainment, and some would even argue a little bit sad for our country.
Very, very sad, yeah.
All right, Jessica Levinson, Loyola Law, thank you so much for
Thank
being with
you.
us tonight. We appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.